Deep in the rugged mountains of what was then western Utah Territory, on the slopes of a peak called Mount Davidson, two exhausted Irish immigrants were ready to give up. They'd been digging for weeks with nothing to show for it but blistered hands and empty pockets. Then they hit something strange in the dirt, a thick, sticky, blue-gray mud that clung to every shovel and pickaxe and made their work even harder than before. They had no idea they were standing on top of what would become known as the richest silver discovery in American history. This is the story of the Comstock Lode. According to the Irish America magazine, the men were named Peter O'Reilly and Patrick McLaughlin, and they had been working 16-hour days, 7 days a week, at the head of a ravine near 6 Mile Canyon, right beside Mount Davidson, on land that today sits just outside Virginia City, Nevada. According to that same account, the two men worked together for safety in the isolated Nevada wilderness, and their results for a long time were deeply disappointing. Working only with hand tools, they had to dig far deeper into the hard, rocky soil than they had expected. And for days at a stretch, they found nothing at all, barely scraping together enough gold dust to afford basic supplies. But this discovery didn't come out of nowhere. According to the Mystic Stamp Discovery Center, gold had actually been found in this same general area as early as 1850 by Mormon immigrants passing through on their way to California, who panned what little gold they could find during the spring snowmelt before continuing on their journey. Then, according to the same source, in 1857, two brothers named Ethan and Hosea Grosh, both veterans of the California gold rush, are credited with discovering rich veins of silver and gold in what's now called Gold Hill, near Virginia City. Tragically, according to multiple historical accounts, including the Clio Historical Marker Registry, both Grosh brothers died before they ever had the chance to formally file a claim on their discovery. One from an accidental injury and the other while attempting to cross the Sierra Nevada mountains in brutal winter conditions, seeking new investment. Their find and their secret seemed to die with them. That's where a man named Henry Comstock enters the story, and according to nearly every historical account of this event, not in a particularly flattering way. According to the Maritime Heritage Project, Comstock had reportedly served as a kind of caretaker or watchman for the Grosh brothers' cabin. And when the brothers died, he took possession of their land and belongings, including ore samples and notes the brothers had left behind. According to Legends of America and the Cowboy Showcase Historical Archive, Comstock himself was illiterate and couldn't read the technical notes he now possessed, but he understood enough to know something valuable might be hidden in that ravine, and he began aggressively laying claim to land in the area, watching and waiting for other prospectors to do the actual work of finding it. That's exactly what happened in the spring of 1859. According to the Mystic Stamp Discovery Center, O'Reilly and McLaughlin, working with a simple rocker box at the head of 6 Mile Canyon, had nearly decided to abandon the site entirely after finding nothing of value in the surface dirt. But when they dug a deeper pit specifically to collect water for their equipment, they broke through into a layer of rich, heavy black sand, the same strange blue-gray mud that would come to define the entire discovery. According to the finest-known.com mining history archive, the two men were making their final cleanup of the day with a small mound of gold sitting beside them, when Henry Comstock rode up and immediately recognized what he was looking at. What happened next tells you almost everything you need to know about how Henry Comstock operated. According to the Cowboy Showcase Archive, Comstock stormed onto the site and claimed that O'Reilly and McLaughlin were digging on land he had already staked out, supposedly for grazing purposes. According to the landbob.com historical account, Comstock, described by those who knew him as full of, in the words of the source, sound and fury, threatened and argued until he talked his way into a share of the claim for both himself and his business partner, a man named Emmanuel Penrod. He also secured an additional 100 feet of claim for himself, citing water rights he supposedly controlled. O'Reilly and McLaughlin, worn down and perhaps intimidated, agreed. Neither of them had actually discovered anything alongside Comstock. He had simply shown up at the right moment and inserted himself into someone else's breakthrough. And yet, because of that single act of opportunism, history would end up naming the entire discovery after him. Once the initial ore samples were assayed, the true scale of what these men had stumbled onto became clear. According to the Irish America magazine, the miners brought a sample of the strange blue ore to a respected local figure, Judge James Walsh, a fellow Irish immigrant recently arrived from Grass Valley, California, who arranged to have it professionally tested. According to the Maritime Heritage Project, when the thick blue-gray mud, the very substance the miners had been cursing for clogging their tools, was finally assayed, it proved to be silver or worth over $2,000 a ton, an almost incomprehensible sum in 1859 dollars. This wasn't a modest gold strike. This was the first major silver deposit ever discovered in the United States, and it would go on to transform the American West. News of the assay results spread with astonishing speed, triggering what became known as the rush to Washoe, as thousands of hopeful prospectors, many of them fresh off failed claims in California, poured into the Nevada mountains hoping to strike it rich. According to the Clio historical marker registry, the discovery ultimately produced approximately $400 million worth of gold and silver over the following decades and directly fueled the rapid growth of Virginia City, which became the beating economic heart of the Comstock region for the next 20 years. According to Legends of America, additional early claims in the area were made by figures like James Finney, known locally as Old Virginie, who is credited with discovering a related outcropping at what's now called Gold Hill, further expanding the boundaries of what the Comstock Lode would eventually become. The financial impact rippled out almost immediately, and often in tragically unequal ways. According to the Cowboy Showcase archive, many of the earliest claim holders had no idea what they were actually sitting on and sold their shares for what would turn out to be a tiny fraction of the lode's true value. Henry Comstock himself sold his claim for just $11,000. Alva Gould sold his stake for a mere $450. Peter O'Reilly, by contrast, made what was widely considered the best deal of the group, eventually selling his interest for $40,000, while Patrick McLaughlin and Penrod sold their shares for figures ranging between $3,000 and roughly $8,500. Meanwhile, the mines they'd all walked away from went on to produce fortunes worth many millions more. Henry Comstock himself never got to enjoy any lasting version of the wealth that would forever carry his name. According to the landbob.com historical archive, Comstock earned the nickname Old Pancake among the miners, not for any mining talent, but because he talked so constantly and so loudly about his own supposed genius and success that he barely had time to properly bake bread like the other miners, and instead resorted to quick pancakes, becoming locally famous for the habit rather than for any real prospecting skill. After failing as a merchant, Comstock left Nevada in 1862 and spent the rest of his life drifting between prospecting jobs and road building work across Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, chasing a second fortune he would never find. The Comstock Lode's importance went far beyond the money it generated. According to the Clio Historical Marker Registry, the massive wealth flowing out of these Nevada mines played a direct role in Nevada achieving statehood in 1864. Fast-tracked, in part because of the economic and political significance the Silver Rush had already created. New mining and engineering technologies were developed specifically to extract ore from the Comstock's unusually deep veins, technology that would go on to influence hard rock mining operations across the American West for generations afterward. What makes this story so quietly remarkable isn't just the scale of the silver itself, it's the layers of missed opportunity buried inside it. Two brothers who found it first and died before they could claim it. two exhausted immigrants who nearly walked away empty-handed the day before their breakthrough, and one loud, opportunistic drifter who contributed almost nothing to the actual discovery, yet somehow ended up with his name permanently stamped across one of the richest mineral strikes in American history, a discovery he happened upon rather than one he ever truly made.